The following presentation is brought to you by Virginia Credit Union.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar, How to Read Your Credit Report. A study by the Federal Trade Commission revealed that 1 in 5 consumers had an error on at least one of their credit reports. At the time of this recording, we are in the midst of the COVID-19 crisis, and it is important now than ever for us as consumers to make sure that we are reviewing a copy of our credit report. In fact, recently, the 3 credit reporting agencies are offering all consumers to get a free copy of their credit report on a weekly basis. So that is something that we want to be aware of and use as needed. My name is Sylvia Watford. I am a senior financial education specialist here at Virginia Credit Union, and I will be your presenter. I cannot tell you how many times I heard from consumers when I was working with consumers on a one-on-one basis, Miss Watford, I don't want to pull my credit report because I am afraid to see what is on it. I would respond, but you know what? Not looking at your credit report is not going to change anything that is on that credit report. So, in this webinar, we are going to talk about the importance of reviewing our credit report. We will also look at the official website that all consumers want to go to get that free copy of your credit report. We are going to dissect the key parts of a credit report, and then I want to make you aware of your rights and responsibilities in reference to your credit report. So, why should we review our credit report? As I said previously, in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, recently the 3 credit reporting agencies, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, are offering consumers to review their credit report free of charge on a weekly basis. One of the reasons, especially during this time, that the credit reporting agencies see that it's so important that we as consumers review our credit report because of the fact that a lot of people have, in fact, lost their jobs and they might not be able to pay creditors on time. Many lenders have programs that are available which will allow you as a consumer to pause that payment, possibly 1, 2, 3 month time period, and it will not negatively impact your credit report. Of course, you as a consumer, you want to make sure that you reach out to your lender to get everything in place. But by reviewing your credit report on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, but just being able to have access to it on a more frequent basis will allow all of us as consumers to make sure that that information is reported accurately. So if you say get a modification where the terms are changed on your loans and the creditor says we won't report it negatively on your credit report, by being able to access your credit report, you'll be able to make sure that they are, in fact, reporting it accurately. So think of your credit report really as your report card regarding how you've paid creditors in the past, because lenders will be looking at that. Everyone really determines a lot of decisions based on what is in our credit report. That can determine what type of interest rate we might be paying on a loan. The credit score, we hear so much about the credit score, but remember the credit score is based on the information that is actually in our credit report. One of the fastest white collar crimes is identity theft. So we want to make sure that we are looking at our credit report to make sure that that information is accurate and also to confirm who it is that we actually owe, especially in this time during the COVID-19 crisis. Now, as I said before, we'll be able to get a copy of our 3 credit reports from the 3 credit reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. The official website that is mandated by the federal government for us to receive that copy is at annualcreditreport.com. I know you have probably seen, as I have as well, so many websites that are offering us a free copy of our credit report. But what I want you to please keep in mind that this is the official website that is mandated by the government. It is annualcreditreport.com. This is also the website that you will be able to get the weekly copy of your credit report as well. So you can determine how often you want to look at it, but again, it will be available on a weekly basis. The other options in terms of getting a copy of your credit report would be by phone at the toll-free number that is provided here, as well as by mail. Now, what I want you to remember is that prior to COVID-19, every consumer could get one free copy of your credit report once a year from the credit reporting agencies. So we have Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. They are for profit organizations. So they are in business to make money. They are regulated by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. But just keep in mind that they are for profit organizations. How do they make money? Basically, when I go and apply for a loan, that lender will need to look at my credit report. They will get a copy of my credit report from one of the three credit reporting agencies, and they will need to pay a fee in order to get a copy of my credit report. So then, also, if I have any debt and I'm paying loans back to that lender is going to report that information to the credit reporting agencies. And again, the lender would need to pay for that. Things that I want you to keep in mind is that probably 9 chances out of 10, your credit report is not going to look the same with all three credit reporting agencies. And the reason for that is that not all lenders will report to all three credit reporting agencies. So please keep that in mind as well. Now, when you look at the parts of your credit report, what I want you to remember is that you will be looking for four key components regarding the parts of your credit report. What you will notice is that the credit report, the format will look different from all of the three credit reporting agencies, but the four basic parts of the credit report are basically the same. So you want to be looking for identifying information, and this simply provides your name, your address, date of birth, social security number, just verifying who you are. The next part of the credit report would be the meat of the credit report. That is going to show the creditors what your payment history is like, when you opened an account, how long you've had the account, what your monthly payments are. All of that will be included in the creditors and the payment history. Then there will be a section on the credit report if I've had any negative information on my previous credit with any of my creditors. That will indicate in that part of the credit report. And then there's the inquiry information. This information is really important because this identifies who has looked at my credit report. And I want to make sure that whoever has looked at my credit report, that I gave them the authority to be able to do that. So again, keep in mind, four pieces of information, different format. Every credit report that you look at the different credit reporting agencies, the format will be different, but I want you to look for those four key pieces of information when you are reviewing your credit report. So let's just take a few minutes and look at a sample credit report. We are going to look at a copy of a credit report from Experian. Now, again, the format may be different, but we're looking for key information. There is a different format when you receive your credit report online, and this is what you will see now on the screen. But then there's also a copy that I want us to really delve into in terms of you ordering a copy of your credit report. And this is the copy that you may receive by mail. But I like this copy because it really is very explicit regarding the different parts that I mentioned. So, first of all, you can see here personal information. That will be the name in terms of who the credit is with. Addresses associated will be here. Now, notice where it says other personal information associated with that credit. So there may be a piece of credit that, say, you and your spouse are joint on. Even though the piece of credit is joint with you and your spouse, the credit report will be in individual names. So everyone has an individual credit report. And so on that individual credit report for you and your spouse, that piece of credit will show. So there's no such thing as a joint credit report. So keep that in mind as well. Again, key information regarding your date of birth, um, all of that information is referenced to that first section regarding your identifying information. A personal statement can also be noted on your file. That just shows you an example of that as well. Any negative information. In this particular example, this person has a bankruptcy, Chapter 13. It shows the filing date and it also shows the court and the amount. The next section shows the meat of the credit report. This will show an example of the different types of accounts. In this particular example, there is the installment account. So this shows an installment account in good standing, and you can see the name of the creditor, for example, the recent balance. It even shows the type of installment loan. So we see that it is a real estate mortgage loan. It will show the original amount in terms of when the account was open. It will also show all of this information, the balance, how many months, when it was updated, and even as you can see, the monthly payment, $1,275, but it also shows the recent payment of $1,500. So we know in this example, this particular consumer paid more than the monthly payment. So that is an example of an installment loan. And then towards the bottom here, you see the payment history. So where you see all of the blocks with green, okay, that means that everything was paid on time. Then we have an example of a revolving account. This would be a credit card. Again, it shows the type of the account, credit card, the original credit amount, the limit showing at $6,900. It shows the date of status when it was updated, the last time it was updated, the balance at the time that the credit report is pulled, and it shows the status as well, that it is current, it is in an individual's name, and the monthly payments. Again, if we look at the bottom here, we can see the payment history. All the OKs in the green, that represents that it was paid on time. Also, the credit report is going to show an example of a closed account. So in this particular example, the account is closed. It shows who the creditor is, when it was opened, the type of account that it was, which is a line of credit, the original amount. Now, this is one thing that I want to show you. Your credit reports on Experian and also TransUnion, they will show you the date and the year that that particular piece of credit will come off of your credit report. Now, again, remember we said that this account is closed, but it will still stay on our credit report. It will stay on the credit report 10 years from the date of the last activity. So you can see here it says date of status, status updated. The last activity was 5 of 2013. And then you see here it indicates on record until 5 of 2023. So that's 10 years from the date of the last activity. Although the account is closed, it will still stay on the credit report. So in this particular case, it's showing again the track record, what the payment history was during that time period as well. Now, if I have any negative information on my credit report, it will show that as well. So this example shows a negative account. So there was a missed payment and the payment wasn't made on the specified due date. So it is going to indicate that information. It will show when it was open, the recent balance, it's a credit card. And then if we look down at the end here, we can see that we see OKs in green, up until December of 2015. And then you can see the current status past due 60 days is showing January and February of 2016. It was past due. This is an example of a collections account. Again, it is going to show us that information regarding how long it will stay on the credit report. And this is 7 years from the date of the last activity. So you can see it will be on the credit report until February of 2023. So as you can see, the credit report is going to show all of that information. Remember, I mentioned credit inquiries. This will indicate and show you when someone has checked your credit report, and this stays on the credit report for 2 years. This indicates who the creditor is, when the inquiry was made, and you can see 12/15/2016, and then it shows the removal date, 12/15/2018. So in 2 years, that's when it's removed from the credit report. So it's very important in this section that when you receive the copy of your credit report, you want to look here and make sure that everything is correct and that you did, in fact, initiate those inquiries. There are other type of inquiries. The inquiries that we looked at previously are called hard inquiries. That is when you initiate that inquiry. If you are apply for a loan, that will show as a hard inquiry. Inquiries shared only with you. This is what is called soft inquiries. And this particular inquiry will only show on your credit report. It will not show on the credit report of a lender who is looking at your information. The type of inquiries that this generally will include, if you currently have a credit card with a particular financial institution, on an annual basis, they will check your credit report. Again, it's a soft inquiry. That means that it does not impact your credit score. If you receive promotional offers in the mail, they are the result of soft inquiries where a lender is trying to get you to apply for a loan. So, again, soft inquiries and hard inquiries will show on the credit report. Any type of medical information on the credit report, by law, certain information is not disclosed to protect you as a consumer, and also information regarding how you can dispute anything that you don't agree with on your credit report is included as well. And we'll actually take a look at that dispute process. So again, that just gives you an example of what to look for when you are reviewing your credit report. The question that comes up so often is, well, how long is information going to stay on my credit report? Information is governed by the Fair Credit Reporting Act regarding how long information will stay on the credit report. Remember, I showed you in the example the credit where it was closed, but it was on the credit report, and it showed that it would be on the credit report 10 years from the date of the last activity. So any account where I paid as agreed is going to show on my credit report 10 years from the date of the last activity. If I have a piece of credit and I don't pay it as agreed, if I was late, it's going to be 7 years from the date of the first delinquency. And if it is a collection item, it will be on the credit report 7 years from the original creditor. If I am in a situation and I need legal protection from my creditors and decide to file bankrupt, if I file a Chapter 7, it will be on my credit report for 10 years. That would be the case when I'm not able to pay any of my creditors. The other option is a Chapter 13, and that is a situation where I'm able to pay my creditors something towards the debt, but not all of the debt, and that will stay on my credit report for 7 years. Again, if you receive that copy of your credit report from the credit reporting agencies, Experian and TransUnion, they will indicate the month and the date that information will come off of the credit report. So please be aware of that as well. As I mentioned earlier about the hard inquiries, again, this is on the credit report when you have authorized a creditor. So if you see something on your hard inquiries and you know that you did not apply for a loan with that particular lender, that's a red flag and you want to possibly dispute that information. We'll go through that process as well. The hard inquiries impact your credit score for 12 months and it will stay on the credit file for 24 months. You also have the soft inquiries. Anytime you check your own credit report, keep in mind that that will not impact your credit score. So you can check your credit report as many times as you need to. It will not impact your credit score. Those soft inquiries would be the annual reviews in terms of creditors that you currently have debt with, and also the promotional reviews. So remember, I shared with you earlier that the credit reporting agencies are for profit organizations. And one of the ways that they're able to make money is that lenders may buy a list from them. A lender may want to solicit consumers for a credit card, say. And so they may ask for a list, the name and address of consumers that meet a certain criteria. And then they'll send these solicitations to us in the form of credit card offers. That is considered a promotional inquiry. All of your soft inquiries will stay on the credit report for the 12-month time period. Now, the National Consumer Assistance Plan, I want to make you aware of this because this came into being around 2017, where the credit reporting agencies were it was reviewed in terms of information that was on individuals' credit file, and it didn't necessarily need it to be on the credit file, and it was having a negative impact on a lot of consumers. The website National Consumer Assistance Plan is there, and you can use that as a reference point as well. But some of the key changes that were made is that any debt that a consumer may have acquired and it was not the result of a contract in the past, if I had a library fine and I didn't pay it, that could actually go on my credit report. But as a result of these changes, anything in reference to a library fine, parking tickets, traffic tickets, I did not sign a contract for that, will not be on my credit report. Also, any public records, such as judgments that are not updated within a 90-day time period, or if it's incomplete, that is taken off of my credit report. Any medical debt is not reported on my credit report if it's less than 180 days. There may be some changes regarding this. I don't know, but there has been some conversation around that. But again, want to make you aware of that. So let's talk a little bit about what your rights and responsibilities are as consumers. Based on the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the Fair and Accurate Credit Transaction Act, there are certain entitlements that we have, rights as consumers. So I want you to know what your right is, what you're entitled to, and then what your responsibility would be as a consumer. So one of the things that is in place is that if I am denied credit for any information that's on my credit report, as a consumer, I have a right to again get a free copy of that credit report to see what is being reported. I need to do that within a 60-day time period. If unfortunately I'm a victim of identity theft, I have a right to get a free copy of my credit report, and I'll need to initiate that as well. Remember, we talked about the solicitation that you may have received regarding credit cards. If I want to block my name and address and I no longer want to be solicited for those credit card offers, I can place a block for either 5 years or indefinite. or an indefinite time period on my credit report, and I can just simply call the opt-out number that's provided here, 888-567-8688. One right that I also have as a consumer is that I can place a credit freeze on my credit report. What this does is it locks my credit report so that a lender cannot access my credit report unless I unlock my credit report. So when I lock my credit report, if I want to place a credit freeze, I would need to lock it for each of my credit reports with Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. At the time I place the lock on it, I will generate a unique PIN number so that I really control who is looking at my credit report. If I want to apply for a loan, I would need to reach out to that credit reporting agency, unlock my credit report using my unique PIN number, have the lender check my credit report. After that, I can lock it back again. There is no cost involved with placing a credit freeze on my credit report as well. The other thing that I have a right to is to dispute information on my credit report. And this is just so very important. I remember when I was working with consumers on a one on one basis as a financial coach, I can remember a gentleman calling me and he said, Miss Watford, this person said for $450 they can remove all the negative information on my credit report. Do you think I should pay this $450? Well, we walked through this credit dispute process because this is a process that every consumer can go through to dispute any information that you do not agree with that is on your credit report. So let's just walk through this process. So let's just say, for an example, something is on my credit report and it is saying that I owe $200 to this creditor and it's past due, and I am saying I don't owe this $200. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to get a copy of my credit report so that I can see what is on my credit report. And I see that this $200 is on my credit report. So I start the dispute process. If it is on my credit report for all three credit reporting agencies, I will need to do the dispute process through all three. So keep that in mind. Once I start the dispute process, I can start that online, by mail, or by phone. And I simply contact the credit reporting agency. If I ordered my credit report online, there is a link conveniently located online for me to start the dispute process. So I click on that link, I start the dispute process. Step number 3, the credit reporting agency then will reach out to the creditor. The creditor then in step 4 has to do the investigation to see and to so that they can respond, and they have to respond within that time, within a 30-day time period. So let's say that $200 is on my credit report, I don't agree with it. I contact, let's say, Equifax. They contact the creditor will basically respond with 3 options. Option number 1, the creditor does the investigation and they come to the conclusion that I do not owe that $200, that that information was on my credit report and it was not accurate. They report that to the credit reporting agency. The credit reporting agency then will take that off of my credit report. The second option is they contact the creditor. The creditor does the investigation and they say, I don't know if Ms. Watford owes this or not. We don't know. So if the creditor cannot verify or deny whether or not I owe that debt, then it has to be removed from my credit report. So those 2 options, life is great, right? Because that information is off of my credit report. The third option, if the creditor says, no, Ms. Watford owes this $200, it will end up staying on my credit report. And then I would need to circle back directly with that creditor to continue the dispute process. That entire process should take 30 days, and the credit reporting agency has to report back to me. So that, in fact, is a dispute process, and that is something every consumer has a right to initiate that dispute process if I don't agree with something that's on my credit report. Keep in mind that we will need to do the dispute for each of the credit reporting agencies, Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian. The quickest way to initiate that is online. So you would go to their website, start the dispute process. It takes 30 days. If I disagree with the result, as a consumer, I can place a statement on my credit file and provide my side of the story. So keep that in mind as well. The other thing you want to be aware of is that if I am in the dispute process and I am disputing something on my credit report, that information is blocked from the scoring process. So remember, the score is based on the activity on my credit report. If I am disputing something, that is blocked so that that information will not be considered in computing my credit score. So there are some key takeaways that I want you to leave with. The first thing, every consumer, we can order a free copy of our credit report every 12 months. That was before COVID, and that continues indefinitely. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, every single consumer can have access to a free copy of your credit report on a weekly basis. So definitely use that. Just again, reviewing your credit report. You've talked with the creditor, you've made some modifications on your loan. They tell you this won't negatively impact your credit report. So you want to just make sure that you're looking at that credit report to ensure that that information is accurate. If you do not agree with something that is on your credit report, I've shown you we can empower ourselves to go through that dispute process and save money and not pay someone to go through that dispute process for us. Keep in mind that as a member of Virginia Credit Union, we partner with Balance, which is a financial coaching organization, and they can meet with you on by phone during the day, in the evenings, and also on the weekend. So please reach out. If you need someone to walk through your credit report with you, address any questions, explain something that you don't quite understand, please reach out to our balance partners. They can meet with you, not only go over your credit report, but also assist you in terms of developing a workable budget, especially during this time of the COVID-19 crisis. We want you to know that at Virginia Credit Union, we are concerned as you experience this crisis. So know that we are here to support you. Please use the services, and thank you so much for listening.